Hey guys, welcome to Purgatory.
Purgatory.
Come in. What are you doing? I'm filming a video. Do you know how much money you spent on audiobooks these past few months? Yeah, I've been planning on making a few videos about them.
Then why aren't you doing one right now?
Well, nice glasses, by the way, dude. Thank you. Satan actually gave them to me.
Just because it's Pride Month doesn't mean you get to distract me with cunt. Do one right now or else.
Or else what? Or else I'll make someone make another pheromone scent perfume. So I have a book to talk about. This very real book is about a man named Titus and his creator, Dr. Aelius. Dr. Aelius is a thin, middle-aged woman with dark hair and plush red lips who was banished from what we can assume to be some kind of scientific community because of her unethical decisions and creations. After her banishment, she decided to make the creation of a tentacle hybrid with the alpha type. If you don't know what an Omegaverse alpha is, I have a video that loosely explains them because I'm explaining omegas and they have to do with them. But it's basically, it's based on omegas because that's the point of the video. This creation is named Titus. She gave Titus the face of a movie star, the torso of a bodybuilder, the lower body of a massive 8 tentacles, and a penis taken from the alpha prototypes. She created him from scratch as much as possible. Her excuse for this creation is,
were we sent here to push the boundaries of possibility?
oh, I would also like to mention that this book has all the bad things. Or no, there could be more bad things. Anyways, content warning. Incest. That's the biggest one. Sexual abuse, that's also the biggest one. And typical iffy dubious consent due to Omegaverse heats and rats. As well as literally anything else that I will be putting on the screen. Happy Pride Month, bye. She says that his knot is perfect and his best feature. She seems to visit him every single evening just to have sex. Titus has an abnormally large penis, shocker, shocker, that perpetually stays erect and causes him constant pain and discomfort as long as he's not having sex. And as I just said, he also has a knot. And he's very clearly somewhat sentient because he has thoughts, feelings, and emotions. And that's... He sees his creator as brilliant. And he has a simple room behind a glass hall with a sleeping mat and a TV that only shows videos of Dr. Aelius sexually. And he is constantly referred to and acts like a dog. It's very awesome. But as we will come to learn, this book isn't really about ethics. She has taught him all about sex and has shown him porn and cartoons of men like him, which we can assume is tentacle hentai. She only teaches him porn/sex. It's the only entertainment he's allowed. I've porn from the internet, porn of her that apparently is shown on the TV constantly. I love that. Or her in person. The beginning of the book is just getting all this across to us, and immediately after, and I mean 2 minutes after the book starts, it is night and she is immediately going to catch a bumpy ride. I know that the book isn't long, but there is no beating around the bush. There is no foreplay. There is no buildup. It's always just immediately, this is gonna happen. This is happening right now. During their unethical love tornadoes, she likes to say things like,
My perfect boy. Come for me like a good boy. I just nodded.
Some quotes that I think are absolutely great are, she said it was his only purpose to make her feel good. Ma'am, go to Adam and Eve like all of us. He would have done anything if it meant he could stick his inside of her. He doesn't even want her in any kind of way. Though I could argue, how would he or even we know if he can feel actual desire that way when he has been imprisoned and trapped with his abuser his entire life? He just wants the pain to stop, so every time that he says something good about the situation, it's literally just because his pain has stopped temporarily. The doctor would become mad if she didn't come too. His mind was warm and calm for the first time in hours. He only felt good after sex. And don't forget one of the absolute best parts of the book.
When can I go outside? There is no outside, silly, she said while gently running her fingers along his warm skin. The world outside the lab is a wasteland. You wouldn't last more than a day. I'd like to leave this room. Like you do.
This whole conversation is giving Rapunzel and Gothel. And I'm actually not far off, unfortunately. She manipulates him into stopping his question asking by saying, the other doctors don't understand you like I do. They don't understand how special you are. You're only safe if you're here with me. You have everything you could ever want. We can be together here. Isn't that enough? All the while stimulating him, which we know is the only thing that gives him any semblance of peace. This is literally the more demented version of Tangled, where instead of a very accurate depiction of a mother emotionally manipulating and abusing her child, it's an incestuous sexual one. That was the end of chapter 1, and now we move on to chapter 2, which is arguably the best one. Titus wakes up from his sleep because of an abnormal scent filling the place. One that smells so good that his brain immediately goes into alpha sicko mode.
Omega. Omega.
Omega.
Omega.
Yep.
Omega needs us.
Omega.
Titus paced his enclosure.
It's giving Stitch. Omega Okay, sorry. Essentially, I believe that the scent of the Omega's heat sends Titus into rut, which is the alpha equivalent to an Omega's heat, but instead of the overwhelming urge to get railed or die, it's the overwhelming urge to rail or die. So he goes feral cuckoo crazy mode and starts scaling the walls, trying to bust the door down, trying to get himself to bust, screaming, crying, throwing up. Eventually, screaming, crying, throwing up, throwing himself against the wall works and wears the door down, leading him to follow the scent through this horny torture chamber that not even Satan would approve of. Nor I, the person of purgatory. I say this because as he goes through this absolute hellscape, he looks around and sees various other creatures, such as a human man covered in fur and a reptile-like beast who is furiously pumping his large penis and saying,
Mama. He moaned as
Anyway, Titus bursts through some doors, not unlike how the reptile man burst at the thought of his mother, and walks past some other nasty-ass lab until he reaches some kind of nasty-ass storage room, where he finds the source of the smell, but not before singing his new favorite song.
Omega. Omega. Omega.
He then hears a sudden whimpering of someone going,
Alpha?
"Oh,
A
the
small
child
voice moaned.
Super Saiyan Alpha zooms flashed out of the back of the room, where he finds a small young woman lying on a filthy mat, naked, with one arm chained to the shelf, white hair streaked with dirt, and covered in grime. But to Titus, she was the most beautiful thing in the world. And we once again get a
Omega.
to which we get the long-awaited response.
Alpha?
In the most baby doll, itty-bitty, teeny-winny, pixie-wixie, child baby voice imaginable, in order to match his overbearing alpha waves, no doubt. Anyways, she's like, OMG, you finally came. And he's like, not yet, I haven't. JK, I lied about that. I don't know why I added that in there. So she actually seemed pretty stoked to see him, which is like in stark contrast to how we usually see it in like Omegaverse fanfics. And Titus seems pretty excited for the slicky mukbang too. He tells her he'll take care of her, while filling her up with his slimy little Grimmy Grimes. And she begs him to help her because it hurts, in her sweet little itty-bitty baby pixie voice, because we love children here. To which he says,
Alpha will make everything better.
but that's still better than...
Breed with Omega.
So they start getting it on, and we finally get sex that isn't between family. Titus even saying that all the sex with his Dr. Aelius felt like training compared to this. Luckily, this time they actually have a good consensual time. As consensual as possible. And they don't use any of like the harsh language that you usually see in fanfics where the Omega's being split open and the Alpha's like the devil smirking emoji. So I guess that's nice, but there's no small price to pay to get there. He also says that she's so much better than the Doctor and that...
It was like he'd never known real until that moment. Alpha, she hummed. Her small body pulsated around him. You're so big, Alpha. Breathe the Omega.
Which makes me wonder if this is because the Doctor is a beta and he's an alpha finally with an omega, and that's why it feels like that, or if it's just the author trying to give an excuse as to why he'll eventually stop fucking his mom. Then the omega says, breed me, Alpha. Let me be full of you. And Titus is like, I've never heard of these words in my life, but 2 seconds ago he was literally just explaining about how good it felt to splash mountain inside of his mother, so I don't know what that's about. Now he's realizing that he has an inflation kink and not the money kind. And he gets so excited about his newfound kink discovery that he's like, oh my god, I want to be with you forever. And then knots her because he's so excited. And it feels even more powerful than before. So that kind of furthers my theory. She cries out, he roars, and he fills her small, needy body. Titus has his Demi Lovato moment and is like, this is real, this is me, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be now. And they experiment with his new inflation kink. She's stressed out because she's like, dude, this is only the beginning. This usually lasts so long. And he's like, don't worry, shorty. I got you in all the ways. When all of a sudden, incest mom bursts through the door, almost like he did inside the Omega. We get her OOTD, so kind of the author to do that. And Titus confirms to us via his thoughts that she literally gets it on with every single one of her experiments. I don't know, maybe she's like an Omega or something. I don't know at this point. The doctor is like, go to your room. And he's like, oh my god, no, mama. And squeezes the Omega closer to him while the doctor's getting closer to them. And this wicked witch of the incest has the nerve to say,
that thing is filthy. Come back to your room and I'll take care of you properly.
And the roast doesn't even end there. She's like, first off, she's not human. Second, she's dirty just like I said. And third, she's only one of the assistant's cum dumpsters. Anyways, Titus is like, girl, no. And the Omega's like, please don't leave me, Alpha. And all of a sudden, he's like, damn, this bitch old. He glared at the doctor's thin body, seeing lines and wrinkles that he has never seen before. She was disgusting. Why do you have to do her like that? It's preferable to the other way he was doing her, actually. The best part, though, she claimed to love him, but he had heard the low moans of her effing the surrounding hybrids late at night. She was nothing compared to the Omega in his arms. Here's my initial reaction to that banger.
She was disgusting. She claimed to love him, but he'd heard the low moans of her the surrounding hybrids late at night. She was nothing compared to the Omega in his arms.
My friend, we're not hating her for the right reasons. See, she's bad because she's a whore. She sleeps around with all of her creations. Not just him, which she should be doing. And she doesn't even love him. And that's why I hate her, despite her being my mom. I hate her because she's my mom and she's not fucking just me, but she's fucking the rest of her kids. And that's just wrong. And bro is busy discovering his newfound hard limit for old people. She tells him to come back again, as if telling him a third time is literally gonna do anything different. And Titus is like, oh my god, I've officially had it with the elderly, and karate chops her with a tentacle, knocking her out. Immediately afterwards, tiny baby Omega is like, Alpha, I need you. And he's like, girl, I need you too. And then they start getting frisky right next to what could very possibly be the fresh corpse of his abusive mother. But like, hey, who am I to judge? We don't live in the Omegaverse world, I guess. Yet. Here we end chapter 2 and move on to chapter 3. The shortest of all of the chapters and the last chapter. It is literally like a paragraph. Dr. Aelius wakes up with a headache too small to be deserving of an incestuous sex slave creating mother monster, and looks over to see Titus absolutely pounding the Omega kitty while she's literally having the time of her absolute life. And we actually get to hear from the doctor's POV for the first time, which literally just means that we get to hear different derogatory terms that she's calling the girl that has done absolutely nothing. The doctor is pissed that her dick appointment was stolen, and she literally thinks, how dare he? She created him. He wouldn't even exist if it weren't for her. Dr. Aelius is a boy mom confirmed. She tries to leave, doesn't work, so she starts screaming, crying, throwing up, all while Titus watches. While still pounding the Omega. The whole time, he's just like, oh my god, when I get out of here, I never have to see this old hag again. They'd soon be gone, and he'd never have to see the doctor's withered face again. Dude literally said, my first contribution to society will be the creation of ageism. Nothing would stop him from protecting his mate. The end. Of my life, I hope. In conclusion, I was originally going to blame the poor writing on the word count. Maybe they had a certain amount they had to write, or just something. There's a lot of issues with that, but I immediately realized that's so not true, because I've read so many amazing fanfics that were a lesser word count. And granted, fanfic is so different compared to, I don't know what you'd call it, like normal writing. I don't know what do you call it. But also like the same, it depends on exactly what you're talking about. But in this context, it is so different because you already have a story with these characters and you're just expanding upon that story with fanfic. So while it is different, it's also not. Because the fanfic wasn't just good because it was the characters that I liked. It was good just because the writing was good. And even though they had a very small word count, they still made something. So I was just talking to my friend the other day about how they completely made this crazy world with like no context, even though it was still using like pre-made characters. They made this like entire world with like so little word count and so little, but it still got it across, and it was still so good. And I was telling him, like, think about how good it would be if they just decided to write more. It's such a shame. But the reason I'm saying that is because it's so good. I'm basically just trying to say the word count is not the issue. And it's just it's just weird. Initially, I thought that the author was not aware that what they were doing was incesty, was gross in the way that it is. So when I discovered later on that that was actually the point because of the mama thing, which we don't have to talk about, I was actually genuinely shocked because I totally thought that it was not intentional, that they did not realize that what they were doing was as gross as it was, even though it's titled dark. And there's a problem with that as well. So my feelings actually changed because the bad parts are supposed to be bad. We're supposed to hate the bad person. The bad person is a bad person. That's the point. And this is one of the very, very, very few pieces of content that I've seen that have the Omegaverse, and it's actually as like absolutely consensual as possible when it comes to heats and ruts. So those two things together, I was like, actually, maybe it's not that bad. Maybe like it's actually like, I don't want to say good, but good. But it really begs the question, like, why are we going into detail then about like incestuous sex? Like, I don't know. It's just it's very interesting. You know what I mean? Like I know that people are gonna be like, you're trying to like censor art. I asked a question. I know I didn't include it very much in the video, but like, the writing is so poor. And I don't even mean this as like a dig to the author. It's not even like a dig to the author because I'm not trying to be like mean or anything. I consumed the art and now I'm like, I think that this art has poor writing. Like and of course it's all opinion. If like, you can't be right or wrong when it comes to, I think this piece of art was good or I think this piece of art was bad. But like, I think, and I was just talking to my friend about this the other day, shake, that people seem to think that detail is what makes good writing, and they overuse it. And that's actually why I sucked as a writer when I was young, on fanfiction.net, writing about Son Amy and Peter Pan and Wendy. I don't know. That's why they sucked so much, and that's why I'm still struggling in my writing somewhat right now, is the fact that detail doesn't make good writing, and I'm astoundingly better now, without any teaching, without any lessons, because I just would read good works that have good writing, and I just picked up on how detail is not what makes good writing. I didn't need to say any of that, but the point, you get the point. We overuse it. But then there's the question of what kind of detail. There are different kinds of detail. I don't know how to explain it. I really want to go into it, but I don't know like words for these things. Like, I'm really into writing and like reading, but like I have no education on it. I literally dropped out of high school. Don't ask me for that much. And I swear, if anyone is like, they didn't mean it that seriously, okay, that doesn't have to be taken that seriously. Why not? Sorry. Why not? I am just so glad that they made like the good characters relationships consensual. It was surprising how consensual it was. Again, as much as possible, because it's not really, is it? But like, I mean, it could be better, but it could be worse. And we know what worse means, don't we? So really, we should give it a round of applause. Really, we should just give it a round of applause, actually, shouldn't we? I think it is so sad that what makes me want to give them like 5 stars is just the fact that the incest was supposed to be bad. I'm traumatized. Because if you read any fanfic in any fandom, you'll come to realize that's apparently not the popular consensus. But yeah, I think that's it. I'm going to do more of these videos. I decided to start off with the smallest one that I had, only 17 minutes, and it turned into whatever this is. So I have longer ones, unfortunately much longer ones. So long that I think maybe I spent my money for no reason. on the audiobooks because I think I'm just gonna get the book anyway. So that's really cool. Waste of money. You should financially compensate me. What do we think about the chair? Where is it? What do we think about it? Can I get a round of applause, please? A round of applause for the chair. I've been looking for her for so long. Do we like the new location unlock? She's not always gonna be here. I'm gonna move her in and out. But for these kinds of videos, she will be in here. So, how did you like the video? Did you like it? If you liked it, press like button. If you didn't like it, press like button. Because unfortunately for you, and not for me, the dislike button doesn't exist. The emojis, if you watched to this point in the video, comment... What even happened? Comment a doctor emoji. The octopus emoji for the tentacles. And then the fire for the heat. Okay, the doctor emoji, octopus emoji, and then fire emoji. You know, the doctor, you get it. You just watch the video. But do remember to be a good person and not a bad one, obviously. Because it is the one rule of this kingdom, the one law of this kingdom. It's really not that hard. And also remember that I will not see you, but you will see me next time, of course, because again, that's how videos work. I remembered it in order this time. Look, he's just a little baby. He's just a little baby. Do you think he knows what the Omegaverse is?
Titus's tentacles held the Omega in place as he slipped his massive cock into her soaked entrance,
This isn't dark, my
shoving
friend.
them open to find a cluttered storage room.
This is diabolical. So she only teaches him porn/sex. That is the only entertainment he's allowed, and it's only from herself in person on the internet. That's it. I was trying to bang this out, dude. Just like Titus.
Sending the doctor crashing into the wall.
She dead?
Her body collapsed against the concrete as blood poured from her forehead.
Yeah. She dead?
What had he done?
Killed her. Hopefully.